way or no doubt. We're talking about a certain team in primetime. Are you ready for it?
You bet. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. We also need an intro for this segment, by the way. Elliot Bowman, our producer. Let's get working on that if we can, okay? But my question to you, Michael, no way or no doubt, the New York Jets will play in the most primetime games of any team in the NFL this season with their new addition of the 4-time MVP, Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, no doubt. I mean, you have the largest market in the NFL. You have the Jets, which haven't been there before. I mean, that's an easy one. That's a layup, no doubt, because it makes sense. We're getting the Detroit Lions on national TV, the opening game. They're going to start the season. I mean, what were the odds of that? I mean, I don't think Vinny or Chrissy Andrews or anybody over at the sports books would have had Detroit being in the opening game. I mean, I wouldn't have suspected it any way possible, because not that Detroit's not going to be a good team. It's just that, that's a giant step forward, right? I mean, you're putting the Lions on the biggest stage ever to start an NFL season, not the Super Bowl, but, people are going to tune in. So, yeah, I think the Jets are a give-me putt to be a no doubt. We're going to see as much as the Jets as we can. And when we can't see them, don't think we're not going to get them, flexed in. Because remember now, we've changed. There's no longer CBS is the AFC, Fox is the NFC. These are all just the games get distributed evenly to the networks.
Yeah, and I mean, this schedule, while we don't have the official way that it's all going to lay out, should set up for some high-stakes games, because the Jets have their annual AFC East opponents, which could be awesome. And they also meet the Eagles, Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, and Cowboys. All of those teams made the playoffs last year and should create some entertaining matchups. I just wasn't sure if it was, okay, Jets are going to get the most, or if the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, maybe that's just getting a little bit stale, though, with Aaron Rodgers entering his new team and the young guns around him. All right, next one in no way or no doubt. Now, listen, the combined win percentage from last year's Eagles opponents going into this season, 566. It makes it the most challenging schedule on paper going into this coming year. Whereas last year for the Eagles, Michael, they were 30th in strength of schedule with opponent win percentage of 464. No way or no doubt the Philadelphia Eagles' league-high strength of schedule should deter bettors when you're considering that over 10.5 wins for this year.
No way. I mean, look, schedules are not about the team's last year's performance, because no team stays the same. And so you have to throw that out the window. And then, like I mentioned in my Washington column, I mean, the amount of quarterbacks in the NFC isn't very high. I mean, when you look at it, I have it here. I mean, they don't play, they're not going to play Aaron Rodgers they're not going to, they do play Aaron Rodgers because they play the East this year. But to me, when they play the NFC games, they have Arizona. They have a bunch of teams that are not hard to contend with. And so when you break it down, I think for me, it's like there's just no doubt. There's no way that the scheduling, even though it says it reflects last year. I think it's a mistake for us to consider that, because there's no team that stays the same. Will the Chiefs be good? Yes. Will Philly be good? Yes. But we see it all the time. 50% of the teams that make the playoffs don't make it again.
Well, yeah, and that kind of leads me to this next point. How surprised are you to hear that over the last 6 seasons, the team that enters this year with the hardest strength of schedule on paper, just based on these numbers exclusively, has only made the playoffs once in the last 6 years?
That's amazing. But look, I just found it, right? So they play the Falcons, they play the Bears, they play the Rams, the Cardinals. So they're playing the NFC East is playing the NFC West. Well, other than Seattle and, the Rams shouldn't be – I think the Rams are rebuilding, so that's not going to be that challenging. Then they're going to play a South team, so they'll play the winner of the South. That's Tampa. That's not a great team. I know Tampa made the playoff, but that's not a great team. I think too much is made of last year, and the numbers obviously support that. But the way these teams' rosters turn over so much and the lack of quarterbacking in the NFC, I don't think it matters.
Yeah, I agree with you. I anticipate the Eagles just building on what they did last year, but understandable why some people might be hesitant, especially losing both of your coordinators and trying to reestablish what you did last year, which was taking a pretty significant leap. Let's take a look at the Tennessee Titans, because Fox Sports reporter Ben Arthur broke down the quarterback situation in Nashville this week and said that Malik Willis, as a third-round pick last year, is kind of the odd man out with Tannehill still on the roster in this quarterback room. With them going ahead and drafting Will Levis, maybe Malik Willis being the odd man out, isn't going to make the 53-man roster. So no way or no doubt Malik Willis is going to be on the Titans 53.
I would say no doubt he's going to be on the 53 because, first of all, Tannehill's a one-year proposition, and they don't really know who Malik Willis is. They've changed coordinators. Now, if he comes out and lays an egg in the preseason or in camps, I would say he'll get, they'll move on and find someone else. But I believe they have too much invested in him, even though he's only a third-round pick, to just let him go right now. He's an economic value at a very cheap rookie contract picked in the third round. So why not continue to work with him? And right now they only have 3 quarterbacks on the roster. They have Tannehill, Levis, and Willis. So and he even says in his column they keep 3 quarterbacks.
No, he says they don't usually keep 3.
Well, they got to keep 3 because they know Tannehill is going to go. I mean, Tannehill's on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, I think that's the big question is, okay, who do you think the backup is going to be? Because they would assume that the third-string quarterback would not be the guy traveling.
I think in this day and age, keeping 2 quarterbacks is very, very dangerous. Very dangerous. Because if you're, like we saw, they're sitting there with Willis having to go into Kansas City on Monday night. He wasn't ready to play. Joshua Dobbs had to play in the almost playoff game against Jacksonville. And they got caught and they had to bring Dobbs off the street. You can't. It's hard because of the way we lost quarterbacks last year has to scare people.
Who would you assume, just based on what we have right now between Malik Willis and Will Levis, who will be that number 2? Because we did get to at least see Malik Willis in action. It wasn't great. Will Levis, are you just wanting to see what you got if you need to throw him in?
Yeah, I think I would say Levis probably is more NFL ready than Willis was. When you saw Willis last summer, it was one look and take off. He wasn't ready to play. I mean, the whole problem why he transferred from Auburn to Liberty seemed to show up. We don't ever take that into account. Why did the guy transfer? What did happen? Who beat him out? Same thing with Levis. We keep saying it. Sean Clifford beats him out. He can't. But I think in this case, Levis, they traded up to get him. I think they're going to want to try to give Levis every opportunity to at least be the backup so that they think they can build on the future.
Malik Willis in 8 appearances last year, 31 of 61, 276 yards, no touchdowns, 3 picks, and a QBR of 12.4, which for anybody that knows a little bit something about QBR, that ain't great.
No, you could have a 12.4, Stormy. You could do it. There's no doubt.
The Los Angeles Rams, let's turn our attention to this squad because Aaron Donald, their star stud on defense, he did flirt with retirement last year after winning the Super Bowl, decided that he was going to come back this time around, said he's not giving retirement a thought, even despite dealing with the injury last year. He's got 2 years left on his contract. But take a listen to what Donald has to say before I ask you this next question.
Did you give any consideration to stepping away? I know you had talked about possibly considering it after the Super Bowl win, after this last season and the injury. Did you contemplate retiring at all?
Not really. Honestly, you never want to, end your career the way how it was last year. So it never really crossed my mind. So I was, just trying to do everything I can to get myself healthy to be here today. So
I do like that hat, by the way. But no way or no doubt, Michael, the Los Angeles Rams will return to the playoffs before their star Aaron Donald retires.
Oh, no way. I mean, this is a bad team. I mean, first of all, the quarterback is the right. You talk about only carrying 2 quarterbacks. The Rams have 4 on the roster now. Their roster is filtered with college draft picks and free agents. You can't even name there's other than him in the starting defensive front. It's a challenge to name starting defensive linemen. I would go as far as to say at some point, if this starts to shift and go bad, it's going to be fun to look at their schedule. Because if their schedule is hard to start off the season, and say they start off 0-4, 0-5, and Stafford's hurt, and they're playing Stetson Bennett in there, you think Donald might say, "Hey, look, why don't you just trade me and get some draft picks?" That might be the interesting thing. I think that's going to happen before he retires. This is not a good team. Even Ram fans can't defend this as a good team. I know they have Sean McVay. I get he's a great coach. But it's hard to make this team look better. And if they get some injuries in that offensive line, I mean, they had Jalen Ramsey at corner. They don't have him anymore. So unless they can put pressure on the quarterback, where's that coming from? Everybody's going to double. I mean, where are they coming? Here's a question to you, Stormy. How many times do you think we're going to see the Rams on national TV this year?
Not very many, I would anticipate. Just between the pieces that they don't have on the team anymore and just the number of injuries that they dealt with throughout the course of last season, they became unwatchable, and it was tough. And you knew from the very start of the season when they got lit up by the Bills that it wasn't that same Super Bowl team. Run it back was not really on the horizon.
No, there was no running. It wasn't even walk it back. It was like we're going to have to use Barbershop's Walker over there to get it back. I mean, it was no chance.
Yeah, and what Matt Stafford are we going to get is such a massive question for the Rams this year, too.
Well, he's got $59 million to just enjoy. I mean, that to me they had no choice. They put themselves in that. That only is going to delay the rebuilding process, because if he gets hurt, where are they going?
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.